Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on systems analysis. It's kind of like the secret weapon that helps businesses work smarter, not just harder.
So, have you ever wondered about this? Why do some businesses just seem to run like a well-oiled machine, while others are, constantly struggling with one inefficiency after another? The answer, more often than not, boils down to how well they understand and, more importantly, improve their own internal systems.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll tackle what systems analysis actually is. Then, we'll dissect a business system to see what it's made of. After that, we'll walk through the analysis process itself, look at how business rules play a part, and wrap up with why collaboration is absolutely key. Okay, let's jump right in. What exactly are we talking about when we throw around the term systems analysis? The best way to think about it is like a mechanic looking under the hood of a car, right? They don't just see a big metal block. They see the individual parts, the pistons, the wires, the belts, and how they all work together. Well, for a business analyst, it's pretty much the same deal. They're breaking down a complex business into its individual parts to figure out how everything interacts, with the ultimate goal of making that whole engine run a lot smoother and more efficiently. So, now that we've got a handle on the analysis part, let's look at the system itself. What are the core components we're even talking about here?
At its heart, a business system is just a mix of people, processes, technology, and information all working together to hit a specific goal. A perfect example is a point-of-sale system at a store. It's not just the cash register. It's the person using it, the software that's processing the transaction, and all the sales data that gets created. All those pieces are part of the system. And what's super helpful is that you can break down almost any system into these three basic parts. Let's take an order processing system. The input, that's the customer's order, the payment info, all that initial stuff. The process is where the magic happens, verifying the details, checking inventory, processing the payment. And finally, the output is what comes out the other side, a confirmed order, a shipping notification, an invoice. See? Input, process, output. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, but it's not just input, process, and output. There are a few other critical pieces to the puzzle. First up is feedback. Think of this as the system's report card. Are customers complaining about late deliveries? That's feedback telling you something's not right. Then you have boundaries, which are super important. They basically draw a line in the sand defining what's inside the system we're looking at and what's outside. And last but not least, there's the environment. These are all the outside forces, market trends, new government regulations, that the system has no control over, but can totally impact how it works.
All right, so we get what a system is made of, but how do you actually, analyze one? Let's open up the Analyst's playbook. This right here is the 6-step journey, the roadmap from problem to solution. You start by identifying the problem, or maybe an opportunity. Hey, our deliveries are taking way too long. Then comes a really crucial step, gathering data. You got to dig in and analyze the current system to find the real bottleneck. And let me tell you, a huge mistake people make is rushing this part, because if you feed bad data in, you're absolutely going to get a bad solution out. Only after all that homework can you start designing a new, better system. Actually implement it, and then, and this is key, evaluate and monitor it to make sure the fix actually fixed anything and is delivering real value. Okay, next up, we've got to talk about the rules of the game. This is a critical piece that makes sure any new system we build actually aligns with how the organization needs to operate. So what are business rules? Honestly, they're like the DNA of an organization. They're the specific guidelines and constraints, the policies and procedures that have to be hardwired right into the system's logic. We're talking about things like all customer returns must be processed within 30 days, or premium members automatically get free shipping. These rules are what ensure everything is consistent, and frankly, that the business is protected. And this slide, this is where the magic or the disaster happens. It's the translation step. The business analyst's job is to take a plain English business rule, like customers must provide a valid email to register, and translate it into a crystal clear technical spec for the IT team, like the system needs to check that the email field contains an @ symbol. This is literally the moment a business idea becomes functional software. And if you get this translation wrong, believe me, the whole project can go off the rails.
Now, none of this, the analysis, the design, the rule writing, none of it happens in a vacuum. Which brings us to our final, and you could argue most important section, building that bridge to IT. Let's be super clear about this. Collaboration isn't some fluffy, feel-good suggestion. It is an absolute, fundamental requirement for success. If you don't have a solid bridge between the people who know the business and the people who build the tech, you are running a huge risk. You could end up with a system that's a technical masterpiece, but is completely and utterly useless to the business it was meant to serve.
Look, when this partnership is humming along, it's amazing. Analysts and IT teams are sharing insights, they're challenging each other's assumptions, and together they find solutions that are not just effective, but actually feasible. That's how a good idea becomes a great system that drives real business value. But when that collaboration breaks down, that's when you get those super expensive projects that completely miss the mark.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Now that you've got this framework, from inputs and outputs to business rules and collaboration, what's this system in your own life, maybe at work, maybe even at home, that could be improved by applying these steps? Start looking around, because I guarantee you, with a little bit of analysis, you'll see that better systems are everywhere, just waiting to be designed.